Hello there, folks. So, over the last 5 years, whichever side of the argument you're on, there have been a lot of really frightening and just life-changing things that have gone on. And in those times, what you will notice is there'll be certain people that will rise to an incredible level of prominence. And there'll be the outspoken ones, there'll be the really, really opinionated ones, and they won't hold back. And it will garner them a huge amount of attention. And it sometimes happens that these people will possess incredible skills. Some may even say unique abilities. And I've been thinking this in general about a handful of people that I've watched over the last few years very closely. But there's a particular artist who did a lot of very, very famous artworks during the COVID lockdown, all of the political insanity that went on and the tyranny. And the thing is, I've made it obvious which side of the argument that I'm on, not just by that comment, but in many other videos. That's not what this is about. What this video is really about is how, by being so quickly elevated to such positions of prominence, what is dangerously easy to do is to gain a sense of entitlement, that forgetting the fact that at various stages we've all been what you might call normies, or the NPCs of our times, of our belief systems, etc., etc., etc. And what I'm noticing in a really pronounced way is a lack of humility about such things. And as I say, this very, very famous artist left a comment on somebody's post that dared to use an AI-generated image. Now, the thing is, I was quite struck by this comment because, there's AI and then there's AI. And I am, as you can see in the background, that's my photograph that I had enlarged. This is a new artwork that I've started and working on, and here's another one that I'm sort of touching up slightly that I've been meaning to do for a while. But I am not 100% against or for AI. But what was particularly striking with this particular case was the AI picture that had been used on this particular post. It was a depiction of basically the Jesus story. And when I looked at it, I thought, actually, that's quite a nice, touching image. Yes, it's true. It hadn't been painted by an actual artist. True, it wasn't, it was something, well, according to the commenter, the artist, the famous artist, that it was, AI slop, that it was godless and all this kind of stuff. And I was just something really visceral about how condemnatory this particular comment was. And I thought, what's the result of this interaction going to be? Are you going to wake up said person, to the realities of creating artworks rather than using AI? Are you going to instill a bit of camaraderie, or are you just going to be a little bit of a pretentious arsehole? And I'm afraid that my particular opinion on this comment was that it leaned far more to the latter. How effective is this strategy going to be to make people aware that we should be producing more artworks ourselves and developing our skills, etc., etc. But the thing is, what I'm finding housed within this sense of entitlement is this idea that we all have to be exactly the same. We all have to be at exactly the same stage of awareness of the process. And people are on different paths. People have different backgrounds and people have different abilities, you know. All of the people who will comment on the really strong political desire for homogeneity amongst people rather than celebrating genuine individual talent. What a lot of people who are particularly in the creative sphere really don't understand is that certain levels of artistic creation are just not available to most people. Real artistry is incredibly rare. The focus and skill that are required to be in the same person are vanishingly rare. You may say unique. And we have to appreciate that we're all at different stages. And how are we going to turn people around to the beauty that we all want to aspire to? And I've noticed an awful lot of evangelism going on, a lot of judgment going on, and not actually that much humility or understanding that people really are at different stages. And I just can't stand the increase I've noticed recently of purity spiraling. It's really, really vulgar and off-putting. People have different needs and wants and desires, and a lot of people are dedicating their lives to other things. We don't want to lose the humanity that we're actually trying to promote. And what social media does is it amplifies everything to 1,000%. It makes it really, really sensationalist. And I am not standing here saying that I am, or sitting here rather, I am not saying that I am perfectly pure, perfectly angelic and doing absolutely everything perfectly, because I'm not. Everything is a work in progress. And we have to keep that in mind, that when we're making comments on people, we don't even know who we're dealing with, because this particular account that this artist was commenting on, it was an anonymous, profile. It wasn't a real person's face. It was a long-winded username that's probably a bot somewhere, so you don't even know who you're communicating with. And what I also see is this really bizarre veneration of anger. I've noticed this really emerging in people, saying that people should be more angry rather than less angry, and not really understanding what anger actually is. It's a natural emotion, it's a natural response to some kind of tyranny or ugliness, but it's not a vehicle that you want to to transmit your message by. It's a signal that things can be improved. It's a signal that things are out of alignment, but it's definitely not the vehicle to try and change people's minds or turn people around to a more authentic and beautiful way of living. It just isn't. And the thing is, we know this, but it's really, really easy that when you're online just to kind of leave this throwaway comment almost. But I am here to say that you can win hearts and minds, and you can do it in a dignified and noble way. Always think, what are the results going to be? And how are you delivering your message? Because it can make the world of difference to have understanding rather than judgment.